How desperate do you have to be to even consider borrowing your best friend's husband? That night, fueled by 2 glasses of wine and years of aching loneliness pressing down on me, I found out exactly how desperate I was. If you've ever felt utterly invisible, stick with me. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell right now, because where this night led, it crossed every line imaginable. Have you ever made a shocking confession fueled by loneliness? Let me know below. I swear, the words tumbled out of me before I could stop them, raw and far too honest. If I don't feel a man's touch soon, I might actually lose my mind. After too many failed dates and feeling like a ghost in my own life, I was just done pretending. My best friend Lena choked on her wine, then burst into laughter that was maybe a little too sharp. That bad, huh? I groaned, sinking deeper into her plush couch. Worse. My last relationship? The fire wasn't even a pilot light. And dating now, it's just a minefield of awkward silences and men who put in zero effort. Lena tilted her head, studying me with that unnervingly perceptive gaze of hers. So why not just pick someone? Find someone good for tonight? I scoffed. Yeah, because quality men are just falling out of the sky, waiting for me. Besides, I admitted, my voice dropping quieter, I don't want just anyone. I want to feel desired, really seen, like I actually matter to someone, even for a little while. Lena watched me for a long, silent moment, her eyes unreadable. Then she exhaled sharply, that decisive sound she made when an idea clicked into place. A sly grin touched her lips as she swirled her wine. I think I have a solution for you. I raised a skeptical eyebrow. If this is another pitch for that nightmare dating app you love. Nope, she cut in smoothly. Much simpler. You should borrow my husband. I froze. The room seemed to tilt. Excuse me. Did I hear that right? You heard me. She shrugged, utterly nonchalant, taking another sip of wine. Lena. I waited, expecting the punchline, the gotcha, but her expression remained perfectly serious, that knowing little smirk playing around her mouth. You cannot be serious. Why not? Because he's your husband. My voice cracked on the last word. Felt absurd even saying it. She leaned forward conspiratorially, her voice dropping to a near whisper. You weren't disgusted just now, just shocked. That's telling, isn't it? Of course I'm shocked, I hissed, lowering my voice instinctively. Who even suggests something like that? Seriously, what would your first reaction be if your best friend said this? Tell me in the comments. I need to know I wasn't alone in my shock. A friend who cares, she replied simply, her gaze unwavering. A friend who sees you're unhappy and knows you deserve more. I buried my face in my hands, my cheeks burning. You make me sound pathetic. You said it yourself, she countered gently but firmly. I stared at her, utterly speechless. My mind raced, grappling with the sheer audacity of it. Even if I entertained this insane idea for a second, I stammered, which I'm not. What about him? Does he even know you're saying this? Her smirk deepened into a full, confident smile. Honey, do you really think I'd offer up my husband without running it by him first? My pulse leaped. A strange, illicit heat pooled low in my stomach. Wait, you mean you actually asked him? And he? I mentioned it earlier today, she said lightly, as if discussing the weather. He didn't object. Found the idea intriguing. Intriguing. The word hung in the air. The idea that he knew that this wasn't just Lena's wild impulse, that he was potentially willing, it sent my thoughts into a dizzying spin. Oh my God, I whispered. Lena grinned, seeing the conflict and maybe something else on my face. Told you, he's amazing. And trust me, she added, her voice dropping to a husky murmur. He knows exactly how to make a woman feel worshipped. I couldn't form words. She leaned closer again, her perfume enveloping me, her voice like velvet. Be honest with yourself. Just for a second. If you shut down the overthinking, the guilt, the what-ifs, would you say yes? I should have laughed it off. Should have stormed out. Should have screamed no. But the silence stretched, thick with possibility. Because a traitorous part of me, the desperately lonely part, already knew the answer. Lena saw it flicker in my eyes. She leaned back, looking utterly satisfied. That's what I thought. This is insane, I breathed, the words feeling inadequate. Maybe, she agreed easily. But doesn't it also sound? She paused, letting the word hang. Thrilling? Her fingers hovered over her phone screen. Last chance, she murmured, her eyes locked on mine. Tell me to stop right now and I will. I opened my mouth. Closed it. Nothing came out. My throat was too tight. She tapped the screen. A single message sent. Come here. A soft chime echoed in the quiet room. Then, silence, broken only by the frantic hammering of my own heart. "He's on his way," Lena said calmly, watching my reaction with keen interest. My blood turned to ice, then fire. Minutes blurred into an eternity of suspended animation. If you're feeling the tension build, hit that like button. Because what happens next? Then a firm knock at the door. Lena stood gracefully, smoothing her dress, a picture of calm composure. She glanced back at me, one eyebrow slightly raised. "Ready?" I managed a jerky nod, though I wasn't entirely sure I was still breathing. She smiled, that knowing, enigmatic smile again, like she held all the cards. Then she opened the door, and there he was, Lena's husband. Tall, composed, radiating an aura of quiet confidence that filled the doorway. His eyes found mine immediately across the room, not demanding, not predatory, just certain. Even more striking than Lena sometimes described. My stomach executed a painful flip. Lena laughed softly, a low, intimate sound looping her arm through his. "Told you," she murmured to him, leading him inside. He didn't stare, but his gaze held mine for a deliberate, assessing moment as he entered. "This is her?" he asked Lena, his voice a low baritone. "This is her," Lena confirmed, her eyes sparkling. He gave a slow nod, his lips curving slightly at the corners. Not quite a smile, more like approval. It sent another jolt through me. Lena turned back to me, offering her hand silently. Well, I hesitated. This was it. The final moment to retreat, to reclaim sanity. Run. Say no. Leave. But the air was thick with anticipation, with the forbidden promise of feeling something, anything. My feet felt rooted to the spot. I didn't have to move. His hand found mine, large, warm, startlingly firm. And without a word, I followed him, followed them both, further into the apartment, away from the door, away from any escape. The door clicked shut behind us, and the entire world shifted on its axis. His touch was immediate, grounding me even as it sent sparks up my arm. Firm, unshakable, like he somehow already understood the map of my body, the geography of my loneliness, better than I did myself. There was no hesitation in him, no awkward fumbling like the men I was used to, just heat, undiluted intensity. His mouth met mine, deep and sure, stealing the breath from my lungs, demanding a response I couldn't deny. I melted into him, the room, the shock, the insanity of it all fading into the background. All that existed was this, the solid presence of him, the undeniable feeling of being wanted. Lena's soft laugh curled from somewhere behind me. "Much better," she murmured, approval warm in her voice. Her hand skimmed my bare shoulders, a startling contrast to his possessive grip. Goosebumps prickled my skin. Then, her fingers deftly found the straps of my simple dress. One by one, she slid them down, the fabric pooling around my waist. Her whisper grazed my ear, intimate and thrilling. "You're breathtaking like this." I couldn't speak, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but feel. His hands guided me backward effortlessly onto the soft expanse of the bed. I sank into the cool sheets, pulse thundering in my ears. He followed, his movements measured, deliberate. No rush, no uncertainty, just absolute command of the space, of the moment, of me. Lena stepped away, the whisper of her dress the only sound besides our breathing as she settled onto the nearby couch, a voyeur in her own home. "Go on," she purred, her voice rich with anticipation. "Show her what I get to enjoy every night." A low sound rumbled in his chest, acknowledging her, before his intense focus returned entirely to me. Every touch was electric, sending fire licking through my veins. His presence wrapped around me, solid, intoxicating, erasing years of feeling unseen in mere seconds. Lena's fingertips suddenly traced a feather-light path along my arm, making me jump. "You should see yourself right now," she whispered conspiratorially. I wasn't thinking anymore, just reacting, just feeling. Her fingertips danced along my skin, teasing, heightening every sensation. "See," she murmured, her voice closer now. "I told you he was incredible." Then she stood up. The energy in the room shifted palpably. I blinked up at her through a haze of sensation, dazed. She was smiling, that same enigmatic smile, as her fingers went to the buttons of her own blouse, undoing them with slow, deliberate precision. "Guess it's my turn to join the fun." She stepped closer, moving with unnerving grace and confidence. My breath caught again. Her cool fingers trailed down my heated skin. "She's ready," Lena said softly, her eyes meeting his over me. He exhaled a low, rough sound, his hands firm and possessive on my waist. And in that moment, I surrendered completely. No more thoughts. No more resistance. Just pure sensation. Just overwhelming need. Just them. Lena's touch was playful where his was demanding, skilled where his was raw power, coaxing where he consumed. Together, they systematically unraveled every defense I had left. The world outside the bed ceased to exist. Time stretched, becoming thick and fluid, measured only in waves of escalating pleasure. Lena's voice curled around me, a hypnotic command. Let go, and I did. The climax crashed over me. Sudden, overwhelming, utterly perfect. It wasn't just physical. It was an annihilation of the loneliness that had defined me for so long. His strong hands steadied me as I trembled. Her softer ones held me close, fingers tangled comfortingly with mine. I felt like I was floating, weightless, boneless, completely undone. And in that suspended moment, I never wanted it to end. The aftermath was a warm, quiet cocoon. Her fingers remained laced with mine on the sheets between us. Told you we'd take care of you, she whispered, her voice gentle now. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. All I could do was breathe, trying to anchor myself back into reality after being so thoroughly, willingly unraveled. What happens after a night like this? Can things ever go back to normal? Tell me your thoughts below, give this video a like if you felt that intensity, and definitely subscribe so you don't miss what happens next in this complicated situation.